Stop buying bad monitors. If you are looking for the best 4K gaming monitor 2024, you've come to the right place. Welcome back to PC Builder, I'm Jason. In 2024, 4K gaming monitors, they have completely crashed in price, bringing high-end gaming to new audiences. So whether you're looking for the best budget 4K gaming monitor, the best 240Hz 4K gaming monitor, or the best OLED 4K gaming monitor, there are tons of great options at affordable prices. We'll cover everything that you need to know to buy the best 4K gaming monitor in 2024, and we'll make specific product recommendations for every budget level. If you get value out of this video, please give it a like so it really helps out the channel, and of course subscribe for more cool PC content. With that, let's jump into it. What kind of PC or console do you need for a 4K gaming monitor? Well, for PC gamers looking for a 4K gaming monitor, looking at the recent Tech Power Up RX 7900 GRE review, so relatively recent data, you can get about 60 FPS at ultra details at 4K across a wide range of hard-to-run titles with RX 7800 XT or RTX 4070. With easy-to-run titles like Fortnite, Valorant, or CS2, that goes up massively. And 4K gaming is where upscaling technologies like DLSS and FSR are able to provide some of the biggest FPS uplift without having to sacrifice visual quality. For esports titles using a 4K 240Hz or higher refresh rate monitor, an ultra-wide gaming monitor, or multiple monitors, I'd recommend jumping up at least 1 to 2 tiers of GPU performance, so an NVIDIA RTX 4070 Ti Super or AMD RX 7900 XT or higher GPU. For console gamers, the PS5, PS5 Pro, and Xbox Series X all perform fairly well for consoles at 4K, though for the weaker Xbox Series S, I'd consider dropping down to a 1440p gaming monitor. So how much should you be prepared to spend on a 4K gaming monitor in 2024? Well, the great news is that prices continue to fall dramatically since just last year, ranging from around $350 to $400 for the cheapest panels, all the way up to over $1,500 for ultra high-end models. It all boils down to whether or not you want a traditional LCD gaming monitor or OLED gaming monitor, the refresh rate, and the aspect ratio. Let's start with LCD panels versus OLED panel types for 4K gaming. Now, IPS and VA panels are the most common LCDs used in gaming monitors, with VA being used in the curved panels providing better contrast, while IPS is typically found in the flat panels and provides better color. Both VA and IPS panels are much cheaper than OLED. They have higher overall brightness than OLED, and they handle motion fairly well. OLED panels, though, take gaming to the next level, but they are more expensive. OLED allows for true deep blacks, nearly instantaneous response time, incredible HDR colors, but in productivity work can make the text appear a little fuzzy at times, and there is still a very small risk of pixel burn-in under heavy desktop application use, like writing documents. There are two dominant types of OLED panels: the more expensive but slightly better QD-OLED and the slightly cheaper WOLED. While there are minor differences between the two, either offers a significantly better gaming experience than LCD panels. Next up is refresh rate, which you can think of as how many frames per second or FPS that your monitor can actually display, which is expressed in Hertz or Hz for short. In 2024, most 4K gaming monitors start between 120 and 180 Hz for mainstream displays. Many of the newest generation of OLED gaming monitors are rated for 240 Hz. But remember that refresh rate, it's just the maximum that your monitor can display, and obviously you still need a graphics card capable of putting out that level of FPS at 4K as well. And of course, the consoles are limited to 120 Hz, so don't overspend on a refresh rate if buying a 4K gaming monitor for the PS5 or Xbox Series X or S. Finally, we have aspect ratio and size, with most mainstream 4K gaming monitors coming in at a 16:9 widescreen format, which means 16 pixels wide for every 9 pixels in height. Ultra-wide 4K gaming monitors are 21 pixels wide for every 9 pixels in height, and super ultra-wide gaming monitors like the Samsung Neo Odyssey G9 OLED are 32 pixels in width for every 9 pixels in height. In terms of monitor sizes, they range from 27 or 28-inch monitors up to 32-inch for the larger panels, up to large gaming monitors and 4K TVs. But what cable do you need to use for your 4K gaming monitor? 4K gaming requires a lot of bandwidth compared to 1440p or 1080p, so you'll need to use the right cable to get the most out of your 4K gaming monitor. For consoles, since you can only use HDMI, you're going to want to use an HDMI 2.1 certified cable, which can do 8-bit color up to about 150 Hz. And that's perfectly fine as you're locked to 120 Hz max. And most modern 4K gaming monitors and TVs that offer 120 Hz or faster have HDMI 2.1 ports. For PC gamers, I recommend you use a DisplayPort cable certified as DP 1.4 or higher, with display stream compression, DSC for short. DSC should automatically enable and will give you lossless compression, allowing you to hit 4K 240Hz bandwidth. I don't recommend trying to use DisplayPort 2.1 without DSC, as it just isn't practical right now for reasons too long to get into in this video. In fact, I'll link a Tom's Hardware article in the description if you want a deeper dive on that. AMD FreeSync versus NVIDIA GSync. It no longer really matters if you buy an AMD FreeSync or NVIDIA GSync monitor. Both FreeSync and GSync are technologies that sync your monitor refresh rate and your GPU output to avoid screen tearing during gaming. Any quality 4K gaming monitor in 2024 comes with at least AMD FreeSync, as it's the cheaper technology. All modern NVIDIA GPUs can utilize FreeSync as long as you use the DisplayPort cable when connecting to the monitor to your graphics card. So regardless of whether you have an AMD or NVIDIA GPU, any gaming monitor we recommend will work just fine with it. Just make sure to use that DisplayPort cable. For console owners, the PS5, PS5 Pro, Xbox Series X, and S can all use FreeSync over HDMI 2.1. All of my recommendations for the best 4K gaming monitor 2024 are linked down in the video description by category. And we update these deals daily as things sell out and new deals pop up. So check out the video description for those best deals. Ones listed with a fire emoji in front of it are particularly good ones in that category that might sell out or change, and if there's 2 fire emojis, it means it's a fantastic deal regardless of budget category. Let's jump into the best budget 4K gaming monitor 2024, and I'm going to show you a number of different models, but what are you looking for here? Typically, in terms of price, you're looking anywhere from about $380 up to about $450, depending on features. In terms of their performance as an LCD screen, they're all LCD screens. There's no OLED here. OLED's much more expensive. You're looking for about a 144 hertz up to 160 hertz. Some of them are slightly overclocked. All about the same in terms of their response handling. Essentially, these are all really the same panel that are being used in most of these monitors. So you're not going to see that much in terms of the performance. So it's mostly going to come down to ergonomics of the monitor. Does it have tilt, swivel, things like that? Does it have a USB hub? So can you plug mice and keyboards and stuff like that? And then it has another cable that goes off to your computer to run that stuff, to clean up some of the cable management on your desk. And does it have the KVM switches, which really essentially mostly focus on the Gigabyte models? Let's start off with the MSI Mag 274 UPF. There's a couple different versions of this. There's the E2 that we're looking at here. There's the non-E2, and then there's the UPF-W, which is just a white version of this. They're all essentially the same panel, basically. They all have great motion handling to them for an LCD screen. They're all flat and they're all IPS. And what I love about this is typically it's the cheapest. It's $380. However, you're gonna lose out on some of those kind of nice to have features like a USB hub on it, like the KVM switches. But if you feel like you don't really need any of that stuff, you just want to get into 4K gaming as cheap as possible, this is one I'd look at. Of course, if you can step up, spend a little bit more money, or sometimes this monitor is actually the same price or even cheaper than the MSI one, the Gigabyte M27U has slightly more features, very similar in terms of its performance to the MSI, because I think they're essentially the same panel. But this also includes the KVM switches, so you can use the same keyboard and mouse with different devices plugged into the monitor. It also has a USB hub to it, so you can plug in all those auxiliary equipment to it. It's very similar to the M28U that I use on a daily basis, except this is still a 27-inch panel, $399 right now. Again, only about a $20 difference to add in those nice to haves if you want them. Let me throw in some alternatives out there. The Gigabyte M28U, the monitor that I use all the time, the 28-inch version of the same monitor we were just looking at, in fact, it's $399 right now. I feel like Gigabyte is trying to close these out. In fact, I feel like the 28-inch versions of these monitors are largely going away in favor of the 27-inch ones. So it gives you an opportunity to pick something up on a deal like this. $399 right now. Obviously, the same price as a 27-inch. I would get this one because it's slightly larger and it's the same panel and it's got great performance to it. So take a look at those kinds of deals, see if you can pick something up like this. Other options out there include the LG Ultra Gear 27GR93U, I think this one is right here. And really not a lot of difference. I would say probably maybe this monitor might be slightly better tuned than the previous ones. $416, so it is quite a bit more expensive. I will say to give LG some credit here, these monitors were originally introduced at a really stupid, super high price, but they have come way down, all the way down to $416. You often find them kind of skirting that $400 price point, and this is definitely one I would consider. One we've continued to recommend right now, the price is not very good on it. This is the Acer Predator XB283K. This is the V3, so this is just the cut down model without the USB hub, very similar to the MSI MSI monitor out there. However, this is a 28 inch. It's a 28 inch monitor. $449 is a little expensive for it. I love to see it. It sometimes often hits that $399 price point, just not there right now. But I'll leave this link down in the video description and you can check it out. Jumping up to a 32 inch size here, I'm going to give you two options here that I think are just really, really well priced. The same LG panel that we were just looking at, except the 32 inch. $519, very, very good price, especially if you compare it to like the M32U that's still out there that's kind of silly price, and some of the other 32 inch, really, really silly price. I don't know if that's a stock thing or whatnot. It's basically the same exact LG monitor, including the USB hub and everything else for $519. I really like this one, 2 thumbs up. For those of you who want an Asus ROG Strix monitor, this is a great monitor to look at. This is the XG32UQ. There's also a PG version of this available. It's a little bit more expensive, more like $599. To me, it's not worth the extra price premium. I would grab this 160 hertz refresh rate. It's got kind of all some of the Asus extras on it. It's got the USB hub. 32 inch, $549, 2 thumbs up. Staying with LCD panels, let's jump into the best budget 4K gaming TV out there right now in 2024, and that is the Hisense U7N series. Now this is the 55 U7N, so what they do is they put the size of it first and then it's U7N. So this is a 55 inch TV, and this is an LCD panel. We'll go through OLED TVs later in the video, but for $799, you get a 55 inch TV. It has all the regular TV features to it. It looks super great. It's actually got a 144 hertz refresh rate to it. Now, you will find cheaper 4K TVs, but they typically top out at a 60 hertz refresh rate. 60 hertz refresh rate, so you're not going to be able to enable 120 hertz on your console or do any kind of, faster than 60 hertz gaming on a PC. The nice thing about this, you can plug in your PC via HDMI 2.1. Even if you've got an NVIDIA GPU, there is VRR over HDMI 2.1. You don't need to worry about that it doesn't have NVIDIA GSync or anything like that. So 2 thumbs up there. It's an absolute phenomenal value for not a ton of money, given the fact that it's actually a TV as well. Let's jump in the best 240 hertz 4K gaming monitor that's an LCD panel. We will, of course, look at those OLED 240 hertz a little bit later, but they are a little bit more money as well. So this is maybe if you're looking to save a little bit of money, but still get that 240 hertz 4K gaming monitor out there. We've got the Samsung Odyssey Neo G8. Now, this is a 32 inch panel, and really this is the only game in town. The other nice thing about this panel, in addition to being 32 inch and 240 hertz, is that it actually has enough local dimming zones and everything that it actually has pretty decent HDR. Not compared to OLED gaming monitors, but certainly compared to most LCD monitors out there. It actually does a pretty decent job at HDR, again, for an LCD monitor. $799, it's kind of an in-between price between the 32 inch non-240 hertz and those 4K OLED 240 hertz panels that we'll see closer to $1,000. Let's jump into the best 4K OLED gaming monitor 2024. And you can see we've already jumped up quite a bit in price, $949. You're looking to spend here anywhere between $899 probably and about $1,000. I wouldn't spend much more than $1,000 right now, although some of these monitors go up to $1,200, $1,300. And the crazy thing is they all literally have the same exact QD-OLED panel that Samsung manufactures and sells to these various monitor companies. Now, some of the monitor companies, what's the difference between them? Really, they're going to tell you that their cooling solution is better than somebody else's. The risk of burnout is lower. I think in all of these, they're essentially 2.5 generation or maybe 3rd generation OLED gaming monitors. The risk of burn-in is much lower than it used to be. You really have to beat these monitors up quite a bit and not do the things that are necessary in order to keep them up. The other thing, some of them will have better features than the other. For instance, some will have the Dolby Vision to them. Some others don't have that, but really it's going to boil down to basic ergonomics, basic price, and some of the kind of minor features on the monitor. Let's start off with the best price one right now. That's the MSI MPG321URX. I will not get the MSI Mag version of the same monitor because you can't update the firmware on that monitor, by the way, and it has had some issues that need a firmware update. The MPG ones, you can update the firmware, so just focus in on that. $949, listen, these are all great panels. They're going to give you phenomenal HDR to them. It doesn't matter, even though it says 240 hertz, it doesn't matter if you're playing a 4K title that's really stressing your GPU out and you're only getting maybe 60 FPS at 4K instead of 240 hertz, you're going to get the same incredible response times you are at that higher end of the refresh rate. That's the great thing about OLED, very different than LCD, where depending on where you are in that refresh rate, how many frames you're actually hitting, you can get a very, very different response out of the monitor. So 2 thumbs up there. It's got a great heatsink on it, as really all these monitors do. It's got the QD-OLED panel to it. It's got pretty good ergonomics to it. Doesn't have the Dolby Vision in it. If you want to use it to, watch a lot of movies, maybe that's a selling point for you. Although again, this one you could update the firmware. It's possible MSI could add that in the future. They haven't said that they are, but $949 is a good price for this. Probably my top pick right now is the Gigabyte Aorus FO32 U2. There's also a FO32 U2 Pro that comes with DisplayPort 2.1, and it costs a lot more money for a feature that is not ready for prime time. Without getting into it, remember that Tom's Hardware article is linked down in the video description. Just know the DisplayPort 2.1 is not ready for prime time. Don't overpay for it because you essentially cannot use it right now. Give it a couple years and I think it'll be where it needs to be. Right now you want to go DisplayPort 1.4 or 1.4a and you want to use display stream compression with it, and you're going to get a very, very similar performance out of it, especially right now because none of the GPUs can even use DisplayPort 2.1 at the bandwidth necessary for 240Hz 4K. $999. This also additionally has some of the KVM features to it. I think it's the right price to performance. It's got a really, really good tuning to it as well. This is probably the one that I would pick up personally. If you are looking for the Dolby Vision out there, or you're looking for a curved version of this monitor, the Alienware AW3225QF is the monitor that you want to pick up. The Dolby Vision really just kind of increases the HDR of those kinds of media. Not really going to help you in terms of your gaming. Again, HDR on OLED looks amazing, especially these, what are essentially 3rd gen OLED panels right now. 240 Hertz, not many other differences other than the fact that it's curved. Some people may like that. Some people may not like that. So that's really up to you. And it's been one of the better price panels at $999. I want to show you some of the other panels out there right now, like the Asus ROG Swift PG32 UCDM. Now, Asus is going to tell you that their cooling solution on their custom heatsink is better than anybody else's. Is that worth paying $300 for? I don't think so. And I think some of these more high price ones, there's an LG model out there as well. They'll probably eventually kind of sink down in price. So I want to show them to you so you know that these are also phenomenal panels. If this was equally priced with the Aorus one, which one would I pick up? It's hard to say, although this one they have promised in a future firmware update, they are going to update it for Dolby Vision. You will, of course, have to update the firmware to get that once they do release it. But maybe that's a selling point for you. If they were the same price, maybe I would pick this one up over the Gigabyte one. Again, it's going to be largely up to you and what you're looking for, but it's really hard to have any kind of separation except price, $1296. Let's jump into the best 4K OLED gaming TV 2024. And honestly, to me, this is really super simple. I still absolutely love the LG series. And I love this year's lineup, which is the OLED Evo C4. If you can find last year's version, the C3 also is good. The B3 is also good. What you're looking for here, very simple. You're looking for that 120 Hertz refresh rate. And largely, the OLED panels here hit 120 Hertz because they're limited by HDMI 2.1. They don't use DisplayPort. There's no display stream compression, anything like that. So you're looking for 120 Hertz refresh rate, but you're looking for just a super big panel here for not a ton of money. 48 inches here for $996 is just an insane price for about $1,000. And that's where you're looking to spend. The 42 inch is only about $50 cheaper. I think the 48 to 55 inch category is kind of where you're going to find the best in terms of price to performance. If you want to, the 55 inches, I think just around $1,200 for it. It's about $400 or $500 more than the LCD panel that we looked at earlier for the best gaming TVs. Typically, these are going to have at least 2 ports with HDMI 2.1 on it. That's what you're going to use. And again, don't worry if you have like an NVIDIA graphics card and you're going to plug a PC into this. You're going to get VRR over HDMI 2.1 natively. It has that on it as well. You don't need GSync or FreeSync on it. And of course, you get the benefits of being both a TV as well as a gaming monitor, and they look amazing. Again, you're going to get that incredible HDR out of it. 120 Hertz is still plenty of refresh rate for a ton of games out there and a ton of GPUs out there. So great pickup for $996. Remember, everything is linked down in the video description. So Mr. Kitty Bear, can you get up for just 1 second? That is a long time for kitties. Remember, everything is linked down in the video description, so check out those links for current pricing and availability in your region. And of course, if you got value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel, especially this guy right here. And of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. and we'll catch you on the next one.